Thank you all so much for joining us for our 2021 Dream Job panel. I'm Cassidy Stewart, her campus Hofstra co-president.
And I'm Maddie Mento, who you might recognize from last year, but this is my senior year, so this is my last DJP. Very sad, but also super exciting at the same time because we have such an amazing set of panelists for you tonight.
So first up, we're going to be joined by Mian Chan, video director at Condé Nast.
Hi!
Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
And next, we're going to bring out Gabriella Lewis, video journalist at the New York Times. Welcome to the panel.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And then Kristen Stewart is going to be a minute late, so we'll bring her on when she comes in.
Cool. So let's get into it. We're going to be asking some questions to the entire panel, and then some individually, and then we'll open it up to audience questions at the end. So let's get started. So because of COVID, everything is like crazy right now. So the first question is going to be, where are you guys working from right now, and what are your day-to-day responsibilities? Mian, do you want to start?
Sure. Where am I working from? I'm working from home in Bed-Stuy. Gabriella and I actually live in the same neighborhood. And yeah, I'm working from home. It's a whole thing. We got a standing desk during this time. Sorry, what was the second question?
What are your day-to-day responsibilities?
Got it. So the day-to-day, so I'm a video director at Condé Nast, and Gabriella and I actually used to work together. And we're actually from the same hometown. So we have a lot of things in common. But my day-to-day responsibilities change they just change depending on the project. So the team that I'm on is called the development team, and we basically develop new series and pilots for all of the Condé Nast brands. So Teen Vogue, Allure, GQ, all those things. I kind of focus on the beauty and style things just because that's kind of my beat, my background, but the day-to-day responsibilities can change in everything from like making shot lists to creating, like writing voiceover to like doing pre-interviews with experts, editing, working with editors and giving notes on cuts once we've got like a rough cut or a fine cut stage. And then also just like brainstorming and pitching and always kind of figuring out what we think would work for the different magazines.
Cool. Gabriella, where are you working from right now?
I am also working from home, also in Brooklyn, but occasionally, as of late, traveling into Manhattan because we have our own studio, which is really great. So we're learning how to be COVID safe and kind of go back into in-person shooting, which is very exciting for me, someone who loves to be on set. My sort of day-to-day responsibilities nowadays are, producing those shoots that are in various stages of production at any point. Also pitching new ideas, kind of similar to what Mian does. And then also editing video. And that's sort of done at home, but it's a good mix of a little bit of everything, and it keeps me from going crazy in my house all day.
I know it's a toss-up right now. Everyone is kind of like, some people have been in person this whole time. Some people are still working from home, and they don't even have an office anymore. So just interesting to see like where everyone's coming in from.
Yeah, it's definitely tough because this is our like second hybrid semester. So I know Cassidy and we live in the same house actually. So we're like running back and forth between campus and home, but we're in our separate rooms. So
no, I can't imagine like everyone who's in school right now or was in school for this. Like it sounds like you guys all. It just sounds so hard.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's not easy.
Yeah.
I know, like if the comments go off, people are gonna say the same thing. It's definitely tough, but I know we're excited to like get to. Well, I'm excited to get to the working world because I'm a senior, but
it is very exciting. You should be excited.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's do the next one, I think. And then since you both are working from home, can you talk a little bit about how you set those boundaries between your work life and your personal life? Because I know it's something I struggle with for sure.
Yeah, I can go first. Something that I realized very early on that I was struggling with was like not going crazy in my house. So I've made a point to keep like a separate area. Like I have a desk and it faces like a certain part of my apartment. So I just want to make sure that like during the day while I'm working, I'm like in a sort of, as much as I can, different physical space. So that when I'm done, like I'm facing a different way. I'm like in the kitchen, I'm in other parts of the house. I like try not to be in those spaces during the day. So there's a little bit of a difference. I don't know how you guys are with this, and I think every decision is valid, but I like to put pants on and a little bit of makeup because it just makes me feel like I'm starting my day, you know? That's helped, I guess, like mentally. But I think I also try not to, like when I'm out, check my phone too much for like Slack, which is like a messaging app that we have for work communications. It's like instant messaging, and email. I try and keep those pretty separate, or between work hours if, you know, nothing crazy is going on. But Mian, what are your hacks? I'm curious to know.
I'm like you know this because you know I'm a mess.
You're not a mess.
So polished. Every Zoom, even before she left us to go to the New York Times, every Zoom I'm just like, your room is so clean, and her room like her as you can see, the camera faces the whole room, so you know it's clean.
I am blushing
every time. I miss the office at this point a lot because I miss wearing crazy clothes to work. I miss that. Like I try when I'm like really like on my game, I really try to like start at my desk, and then I usually allow myself to digress to the couch around like in the afternoon. But something I do to like kind of mentally take myself out of work is I try to get outside at the end of the workday. So either to go on a run or to walk, so that I mentally am I'm physically changing my location, and then I come back and then I feel like I've like almost like commuted back from the office, and it's like time to cook, or it's time to like not be working. I also don't have push notifications for Gmail on my phone. I have them for Slack, but I'm pretty like I'm pretty good with like not allowing myself to go there after work hours. But that's kind of those are the things. Although I will say maybe I should adopt the like putting on real clothes and a little bit of makeup kind of vibe, because it does make me feel better when I do it. I'm just really lazy.
I don't know if you guys are allowed to reveal this, but do you guys have plans to go back to the office?
There are plans. I think there's just not a date. I think it's all just like TBD, rolling basis, who's comfortable, who's not. But you know, in New York, I think like everything, whatever that means, is supposed to be open in July. So I think like a summertime return is the vibe, at least at the Times. What about at Condé?
Yeah, they're also kind of like not quite sure exactly when they're going to roll that out. I also think there's like a lot of things to consider about like physical working spaces, and if we're going to have our own desks and stuff like that. So there's no like hard date that we've been given. But we shall see. I think we're probably going to go back in like a modified schedule.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I'm ready to go back to the office like 5 days a week all the time, but I could do like a 2 or 3 dayer.
Yeah, it's like, how do you even prepare to just like fully go back and commute and do all the things we were doing before when we were just like at home, you know? Like
it's also especially bizarre. I started a job remote, so I've never been to the office, so I don't even know what it would be like. So I kind of am like, I'm chilling. Like I like working from home.
You're like, I'm okay with this. This is my job.
But I also don't know what I'm missing. So I hear it was very fun.
Yeah.
So now kind of like transitioning into like the like work experience part of the panel. What do you guys think is one thing that you did right that led you to where you are today? Mia, do you want to start?
Yeah. I think a pivotal decision that I made earlier in my, like when I was in college, I was interning and freelancing and like doing that like hustle. And I got 2 internships. I got an internship to work at Elle, and then I got an internship to work at Refinery 29. And I remember deliberating like for a really long time, like calling a lot of people, asking them what I should do, because, you know, Elle is a prestigious magazine. It's been around forever. Refinery 29, you know, was known in, you know, people who are in our industry, but you know, it didn't have that same kind of blossom, but it was paid, the other one wasn't, and I was really going back and forth on it. And I decided to go with Refinery 29 because I had a hunch that because they were digital, only, that I would get an opportunity to do more and I'd be able to write more. And I had previously interned at W Magazine where, you know, when you work on the print side as an intern, like they're not letting you like get a byline like in the magazine. So I kind of had a hunch that it would happen, and it actually worked. I think it was a really good decision. Like I got to write a ton for them. I ended up interning for them for a year. It ended up leading to my job when I got an assistant job there when I was still in school. So like I think that was a very important decision that at the time I was like really freaking out about. But I'm really glad that I made it.
Cool.
I think something that I did right, which was really difficult to make a part of my practice when I was interviewing for like internships and jobs early on in my career, was both to send thank you letters, which you should always do after interviews, but also to ask, if you don't get the job, like in better words, like why, or how you can improve as a candidate, or what they were looking for. It's a really tough question to ask when you're, I mean, period. Like even now, like a seasoned professional, I'm still like, oh my God. But when you're young, like you want to know, you want to know what they're looking for, and maybe something that you're lacking or like need a bit more experience on. Maybe it's something you can teach yourself. And I've actually gotten a job that way by asking that question. I didn't get the job initially, and then I asked that question, and then they were like, it shows a level of self-awareness and just like tenacity. And so definitely ask that hard question of, what were you looking for and how did I kind of fall short there?
Yeah.
I always send thank you letters.
Yeah, I've always heard so many people say that like in interviews at the end, one of the questions that you should ask is like, are there any qualms that you have about hiring me? And like in every interview, like I've always thought about saying that, but I'm always like just a little bit too afraid to.
It's very hard to say in person. I totally understand that. And I probably wouldn't even do that. I would ask over email, but it's a great question to ask.
Yeah, email makes everything so much easier. But.
I've been applying for full-time jobs, of course, and I had to take a writing test for one. And I mean, I can vouch for it because I said during the writing test, I was like, I wasn't really great at this part. Is there any feedback you'd like to give me? And she said that was super refreshing. So I can definitely vouch for that asking for that feedback and asking for that growth is really important, because I don't think we see that a lot. I think it shows a level of maturity, like you said. So that's really great advice for sure.
And from an editorial standpoint, it shows that you're willing and able to receive edits.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
Yeah, especially like for our audience here. Like I hope our whole chapter is listening to that definitely be open to edits for sure.
Yeah.
That's really important. We have our next question for Kristen, but we are going to wait. So actually this is a perfect segue into the next one. Cass, you want to ask it?
Yeah. So what is one thing that you did wrong, one mistake, and then how did you navigate like coming back from that? We can start with Gabriella this time.
I love this question because it kind of keeps me up at night.
Oh no.
It's okay. Let it be a learning opportunity for everybody else. And I also learned. In my first full-time position out of college, I didn't really have a good understanding on like financial literacy and like where your starting salary really affects the rest of your career and your life and your ability to, pay your bills and afford things. So I didn't negotiate my first salary. I just took the first offer. I didn't have a mentorship at that time. My parents didn't go to college. They weren't in the field I was in. I just didn't really have a lot of people in my life to like steer me in that direction or make me understand that that's a thing I could do. I had absolutely no idea until I told someone, and they were like, you didn't counter? I was like, no, you can do that. So that's something I would say that it was sort of a misstep for me. But now in my career, I do feel like, every job I take, I'm sort of like making up for that a little bit. And there's some statistic like women make X amount less over their lifetime because they don't negotiate salaries at the beginning or for any job. So just know that you always can do that.
Did you ever feel like you weren't going to get a job because you were like negotiating or asking for more?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's terrifying. But a good thing to remember is that they want you and that you're worth what you're worth, and also being willing to ask for what you want and be willing to walk away from a job that won't value you. If that's the case, like it's incredibly difficult. And I understand you need to be in a certain position to do that. But you know, you're worth what you're worth. So don't let people lowball you.
Yeah.
There's also always a little bit of wiggle room. A man told me when I was like really nervous about negotiating a job, he was like, if you don't negotiate at all, it's like leaving money on the table. And he was so right, because the money they gave you, like it's likely they can go up a little bit, even if it's a couple of thousand. Mm-hmm. Like it can still make a difference, at least in how you feel respected.
Yeah, definitely. And then did you have one thing that you did wrong, Meanne?
Yeah, I feel like I've done so many things wrong, but one of them is kind of related to what Gabriella said, which is that I feel like as amazing as it was to have stayed at Refinery so I was there for 5, almost 6 years. I think that I had this idea when I was in the industry. I was very young when I got into it, and I felt so lucky to be part of the industry, and that I when I was going into negotiation to get more money, to get raises, to get more title changes, I never even thought to get a counter offer, because I was like, that is going to look so bad. Like, I love working here. Like, and I'm not saying that that's right for everyone to do, but I think that if I knew what I knew now, I would tell my younger self to be a little bit less personally attached to the company that I worked for. And part of that was actually really great, because I felt I really believed the mission when I was working there, but it did like hurt me in terms of being able to kind of advance what my salary was. And it really wasn't until I left that I was able to get like a bump to where I really felt that I should be. And honestly, like if you're at a company for a long time and you want to stay, one of the best ways to get a big bump in your title and your salary is to go out and get a counter offer. And I think that I don't know if it was wrong, like it happened, and I don't regret it, but yeah.
I'm gonna write it down. Counter offer. It's definitely scary, you know. Like I think when you're so young, and especially for the people watching this, or pretty much us, our age, when you're going right into it, you don't want to seem too cocky. You know, you don't want to seem like you think you're better than what they're giving you. You know.
Exactly. I'm not saying you have to go out and like make this happen right away, but an editor told me when I was very young in my career to always take the interview and see the process through if someone reaches out to you. And there are a lot of times that I didn't do that, because I was like, I'm so happy. Why would I even want to know what else is out there? And I think that did kind of stunt me a little bit. I think that I should have just at least known what was out there. Someone asked, how do you find resources to know what would be a good counteroffer? That's very hard to say depending on what like position you're in. But I think just speaking with people and like, you know, advocating for salary transparency and knowing like what other people in your role make can be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good advice, honestly, especially like going right into this, and then especially for Cassidy going into this after.
Yeah, we have so many friends that are like accepting job offers and everything. And like we have so many professors that are like helping negotiate. They're like, no, like ask for more. And I think
that's scary.
Yeah, like
it is, but you got to get used to it.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing it your whole life.
Yeah, that's like something that I feel like we also haven't like heard a lot. Like so many people have just been like, just accept it, like it's a job. But like hearing somebody say like, no, you can ask for like what you're worth. Like that's
Yeah, especially now. And this wasn't on there, but I kind of do want to ask Gabriella, because I know you just recently joined NYT, right?
Yeah.
So in the pandemic, especially when everyone's like, just take the job that you get. There's no jobs. Take the job, especially if you're college grads. Like, how do you then also negotiate a salary? And then just in general, how did you navigate that, you know?
Is the question about negotiating or starting?
Both. I think starting in the pandemic and then also that salary. Yeah.
I mean, I will say it was a weird position, and I am incredibly grateful to have been in this position, to have had a job and to have been interviewing and gotten an offer for a new job. I just I felt very conflicted at the time, just like so many people are out of work, and I'm like seamlessly navigating this like career life. So that was an interesting thing to deal with. But I think also at the time I had outgrown the position that I was in, so I knew I was ready for something new. So I started to look, but looking for a job during pandemic, which I'm sure a lot of like soon-to-be grads is very weird, because a lot of it is interviewing, and that's such an in-person thing. It should be such an in-person thing. So it's very weird to do it over the computer. I mean, I just met my coworkers yesterday, 2 days ago, and I've had this job for like 3 months almost. So like it is very weird. Like the parts of the whole are very weird. The negotiating side of it was, I mean, I had known that I had misstepped early in my career. And I think also at my last position, in hindsight, I realized I did as well when it came to negotiating. So going into this one, I was like, I know what I want. I know how to ask for it. I know that they want me for the job. And I just sort of like, maybe this isn't good advice, but I just like closed my eyes and like said the number that I wanted. And they were like, oh, that's great. We can make it happen. And I was like, oh, thank gosh. But like, you know, it took a lot of courage, I think, to hear myself say what I felt I deserved, which was, you know, that was hard. Like, I'm giving this advice, but I'm also telling you it's very difficult, and you have to like build the courage to do it. But yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess since we kind of had the time, I'd also like to ask Meanne about how you did that transition from in pandemic life, since you've been at Condé Nast, into home life, you know, from office to home.
Yeah, I guess I mean, both of us did this, but I don't know. We just were in the office one day, and then the next, I came in, found out we weren't coming in, stole a bunch of yogurts from the fridge, and then I've been here. That remote shooting, Gabriella knows, is really tough. It's hard to connect with talent via a remote setting, via Zoom. There's always lag issues, things in the frame that maybe you didn't. There was a Zendaya shoot that I did a few months ago that like we had her camera all set up, and then like right before we were rolling, she brought in like this additional little ring light that I didn't notice, and we had like 30 minutes with her Mac for the whole thing, and ended up being this tiny little circle at the edge of the frame, which is fine. The video was still great. She looked amazing. She was amazing. But like there are little things like that would be so easy just to really quickly fix if you're in person, but just become a whole thing when you're on Zoom. But I think that it's cool because it has allowed us to get experts from all over the world. And Gabriella produced a video we did on a cat tree, and we got to have a cat behaviorist in it, and she doesn't live here, and it was really, really easy. It's cool to be able to like work with people that aren't in the tri-state area.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that really fast, which is that like I don't know what's going to happen with people's careers and different industries going forward, but like a lot of people, their job, what it was before the pandemic, has changed a lot, and I think Meanne and I both had this experience, and I don't know that it will fully go back to what it used to be. So just kind of having that in your mind of like knowing that your role might be sort of hybrid, or that you might not be doing things in a traditional way, and that way might be like to be determined. Yeah. But everyone is still kind of learning how to do all these things in real time. So it's a fun challenge.
For sure. Gabrielle, the next question we have is actually for you specifically.
Yeah.
This I think we thought would be exciting for everyone, because you have so much experience working at big major companies like BuzzFeed and Vice and New York Times, and at past Dream Job panels we've kind of gotten the vibe that working at super big brands isn't always as glamorous as you think it is. Would you agree with that or disagree with that, or is it kind of a mixed bag?
I would agree and disagree. I would agree, mostly. I think it's very fun to work at the job that you have been sort of pining after for a while. It's a dream job for you. And I have been so lucky to have worked several of my dream jobs. But I think it is also important to know that your expectation of something, the reality will be very different, whether it'll be better or worse. But I think it's really, really useful to, if you can, if you're interviewing for a job or interested in an industry or a company, try and talk to someone who has been there. If you're able to reach out to them on Twitter or grab a coffee, virtual or distanced, or, email or something, just to get a vibe check of basically, what it is really like to work there, because it is very sobering to take a job at a place that you love or love their content or whatever it may be, and just have a very challenging experience, or just, see things in a different light. I also want to say that a lot of places, particularly media companies, hire young talent, people fresh out of college, and they work them very hard. And I think that I wasn't really aware of this when I was starting out, but they know that you don't know how to say no or push back on certain things. So they'll have you take a lower pay. They'll have you work really hard hours, do the nitty gritty stuff that maybe their more senior tenured people wouldn't want to do.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you should always say no, definitely do what you feel is appropriate, but recognize if and when you're being taken advantage of, and just be good at setting boundaries, I think. And the final thing I'll say is don't be distracted by the snacks in the office. If there are snacks in the office, I have a rule that usually I get kind of a bad sign.
Oh no.
I was making a joke with a former colleague the other day, and he was like, yeah, they had really good snacks, but it was really hard to work there. And I was like, yeah.
Except for the yogurts in the fridge, right, man?
It wasn't that place. It was a different place.
The yogurt's in the fridge. I mean, I would there's some truth to that. They're placating you with the snacks.
Yeah. The work perks just be, if there are many work perks, it's I don't know. I'm suspicious of it, but I'm also a curmudgeon. But yeah, I think it's important to just know what you're going there for. If you want to have the Devil Wears Prada life and work at Vogue and do the thing, absolutely go for it. But just know that it is incredibly difficult, and you'll only help yourself if you're able to talk to other people who have actually lived that, just so you have a better understanding of what you're going into, and that you can also be successful and get what you want out of it.
Man, if you want to comment too, you're welcome to, because you also work at a big brand.
No, I totally agree with what everything that Gabriella said. I think that it's really important to talk to people and understand what the culture is like. I also think going back to the not being so attached to the company thing, not having your company be your life. I think a lot of these big, or not every big company, but a lot of media companies and a lot of young startup companies, they want everyone to live and breathe and just drink up that mission. And in a lot of ways, it's great because you understand how to make the content and you understand how to reach the audience, but you also have to be able to set those boundaries in a way, knowing that you are bringing value to the company, not they're not. I think I've had a lot of struggles with trying to extricate my identity from where I work. And I think I have not really gotten to a really good mental place with it. I think that I still do kind of see my work as my life. Sorry, my cat is freaking out right now. He's but yeah, generally I think that just someone said earlier, do you find it hard to maintain that boundary, and does it trickle down to setting boundaries with your coworkers? I don't think it's the coworkers. I think that having coworkers that you can wax poetic with and vent to. Gabriella and I do it all the time. It's important. It's important to be able to have that, whatever, if you want to call it a work life, whatever. It's good to be able to have a place that people understand what you're going through and understand that where you're working isn't going to define who you are forever. And I think a lot of companies kind of, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, but a lot of them have that kind of vibe.
Yeah, they have this understanding that they're established and they know that, and they think that, My mentality is you are lucky to have me. I'm also lucky to be here, but you are lucky that I am here as well. So like, let's treat each other as equals.
Yeah, and I think people want to see your cat.
I know, I love people in the comments.
Oh my gosh.
He's so cute. We just got a kitten. He's just having, what's it called? Frapping, frequent, random, whatever.
He's a zoomies.
He's having a zoomies. He's just running around. He accidentally knocked my computer charger out. And he's attacking the other cat. And she's getting mad. I'll get him and bring him in before we end the broadcast.
Okay, good.
That'll be fun. Kind of shifting. This question is meant for me, but Gabriella, if you want to jump in, you definitely can. I know that you have also had extensive experience in the editorial realm as a beauty writer and held multiple editorial internships in the past. What made you decide to take the leap into video production?
Yeah, so that kind of happened almost by accident. Like when I was at Refinery, I went in to write, and I wrote a lot, and I still write. But at that time, Refinery was kind of in the nascent stages of like developing its video presence, and there was a really big lack of cohesiveness between the editorial content and the video content. And so what happened was, like, my boss, who did not care about video at all at the time, was like, "You're like the youngest person on the team. You like watch YouTube videos. Like, why don't you just like liaise with the video team and like make sure their pitches are like aligned with our editorial calendar?" And so because of that, I ended up pitching for them a lot. They realized that it was a lot easier to just like have me write some of the scripts for them because I already wrote about beauty, so it was very easy and fast for me. So I started doing that, and I ended up really, really, really enjoying it and enjoying video and enjoying photo shoots and stuff like that. And it kind of unlocked this world of like multimedia storytelling, which I would like to do more. I would love to do like podcast stuff, and that's kind of how it happened. And then during that time, I started hosting that show, Beauty with Me, and that started taking up like a lot of time because it ended up performing pretty well, and we got a number of sponsorships, and it just became difficult for me to maintain being a full-time beauty writer. So then I switched over, and now I'm here. And I there's a part of me that, like, when you asked the question before about what I did wrong, I don't consider it wrong, but I do kind of wish that I had been able to more seamlessly that I could blend those two like elements of my career. I'll be honest, it's kind of hard. A lot of media companies are their video teams and their edit teams are very siloed, and that happens at Condé Nast too. And I think that we are going to see a world in the future where there might be a little bit more of like a need for people who blend those two different talents, but that's like the goal. We'll see if we get there.
Yeah. Is there you kind of touched on this a little bit, but is there anything from your editorial experience that you think has translated into your new position? Like whether that be like a skill or even like a lesson?
Yeah. I think that the way that I approach video has always been from like a story first standpoint, for better or worse. Like I think that I really rely on like my producers and like other directors who are more like visuals first people. Like they know what camera angles to get and stuff like that. I think about that stuff, but I always think about the story first. And I think that interviewing has been my favorite part of the journalism experience from when I was writing and even now. So I think that translates really well. I think that I'm an okay interviewer. I really enjoy interviewing. I think that skill translates whether you're doing video or you're writing. And I think just crafting a story and writing, I think I have no problem writing voiceover in a way that sounds like it flows and feels cohesive. I enjoy doing that. So I think that those things kind of help. And then also just like beats and being able to break down a story into different beats and that sort of thing also translates over from writing.
Cool. I actually want to ask you about, I'm assuming was a promotion from doing Beauty with Me and now being video director, being like more of a contributor to being director. Was it a promotional experience? Was it a move? Could you talk about that a little bit?
You mean when I went from being a beauty writer to being a producer at Refinery?
No, at Condé Nast now.
Oh, Yes, that was when I was at Refinery and I went from beauty writer to producer, it was actually kind of a lateral move. That's kind of what I was saying, where like I wish that I had pushed a little
Yeah,
harder.
that's what I kind of got. So I'm talking more about like being producer and now being video director, like the promotion, I guess.
I mean, there's a huge difference between at Refinery, producers directed and produced, and that happens at a lot of media companies. Condé Nast is like a little different, where they have directors and producers who just they handle different sides of the production. I would say that they're equal in level of like the office hierarchy. But yes, in terms of like what I was at Refinery, I was an associate producer, to being a director at Condé was a jump for me, for sure.
Cool. And then this is more of an advice, which all of it has been great advice, but we would love to know from both of you, what's one crucial, I would probably say soft skill, but a hard skill is fine too, that every young person needs to enter the working world. I know the working world is completely different now than what it used to be, but if you have an answer to that, we'd love to hear it.
I can go.
Go for it.
I think being able to do correct research that isn't like, I know that I don't have to say this, but I have received stuff like Wikipedia. Like I've had interns in the past that just like I needed to teach them how to find like appropriate sources, and I think that is something that I really hope isn't dying. It's so important if you're going to go into this line of work, like to have that level of journalistic integrity. I think that's a very important. Did you say soft skill? Because that's probably a hard skill.
Yeah, I said both. Yeah.
Okay, that's a hard skill.
Yeah, that's a hard skill.
Soft skill wise, I don't know. I'm gonna let Gabriella answer, and then I'll piggyback off what she said.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a hard skill, but really knowing how to craft a professional email, just like professional work jargon. It feels a little silly at first, but like it's really just so important, and it will get you a long way. The professional clapback is my favorite. Just using like, respectful professional words to kindly say, like, per my previous email, did you read what I just sent you? I just gave you that answer. And then I don't know if this is a soft skill, but, and I alluded to this earlier, but being able to like say no to things and feeling like you're valid in saying no, or being like setting boundaries, like I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. Or, some so-and-so would be better fit for this task. And trust your gut, like speak up when you feel like you have a good idea, or you want to piggyback off of something, or something should be executed a different way. Like it really sucks to watch something go down and you're like, I should have said something earlier. Now we're too far down this rabbit hole. Like, really just trust your gut. And it's a muscle that you have to build, but the sooner you do it, like the easier it'll get to use. Okay, Mia, now it's your turn.
I thought of something when you said that. Being able to ask for all the information before you say yes. Is that a soft skill? Because like I feel like that's something that I didn't do a lot when I was younger, and then I would just like say yes to stuff, and it would be just become something that I did not sign on for. And I think that there's this like hesitance to ask a lot of what you might consider annoying questions at the front because you're so excited about the work and stuff like that. But I think knowing exactly what you're going in for and knowing exactly what they want, whether it's from an editor or a brand or a client or whatever, is very important.
Yeah, that's something that I'm currently like interning and like being able to ask questions and like get exactly what information I need. That's something that I'm still like kind of learning. That's something that I feel like you really can't teach in a classroom. Like you just have to have like experience and like go through some rough.
It's hard and scary to do that too. Like I remember when I was interning and I would ask a question and I'd get an assignment. I did not know at all what they were saying. And then they're busy, they're on their email, and you're just like, you have to ask, otherwise it's way worse to turn into something that they didn't ask for.
Yeah, I know. The other intern and I are always like texting. We're like, what does this mean? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, love that. Beautiful.
But that's also on, I don't know who your manager is, but like, I also think it's important for managers to know, you know, the position that you guys are in, or that we are all in, and giving clear and concise instructions.
Yeah, that differentiates a good manager from a bad manager, which you will all experience both.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Cassie and I both had our fair share of variety of experiences. But I think that's important too, you know, like you have to have the bad experiences or the tough experiences so you know what a good experience is, you know?
Exactly.
I feel like sound like an old Harrowed senior, but like you really do. It's the bad experience that makes you who you are, puts you where you want to be, you know? And I know you guys know that. I don't have to say it to you, but
it's wise. It's true.
It's true.
Yeah, definitely. Cass, you want to ask our last question before we go to audience?
For sure. What is the most valuable thing that you did in college / something that you think all college students should do? Gabriella, do you want to start?
Yes, I have many, many nuggets of advice here. I think, and it sounds like we've all done this, but intern if you can. I mean, it can be a crazy experience depending on what you're doing, but you learn so much, like you were just saying, Maddie, like you learn so much about what sort of management styles you like, what you're good at, what you need help with. And people are a lot more gentle on you and like understanding because you are learning, you are there to learn. Like that is the purpose of you being there. And also being a student and working or looking for work, like really lean into that. Like let people know that you're a student because they are strangely much more willing to help you because they have been in that position. They know how like volatile it can be. They know that you're just like pining for information. You just like you're a sponge. You just want to learn things, and that's exciting to people. And they're really willing to help you. I wish I had done more of that when I was in school, honestly. But as soon as you tell people as a student, they're like, "Oh, where do you go? What do you do? What are you interested in?" And have those answers ready. Like really know what you want to tell people because you never know who people know. And my second piece of advice is to let people know what you're into. And my personal way of going about this was I had business cards in college, which is like so embarrassing looking back, but also it definitely helped me get my first job. I met someone at South by Southwest who like knew someone who worked in media in New York. And I gave her my card while I was there. We stayed in touch. I got coffee with that person, and then I had my first job. I'm skipping a lot of steps, but that's essentially what happened. But it's because I let her know what I was interested in, what my experience was in, and what I was looking for. So, you know, you never know where you're going to meet these people. It was like this weird backyard bar, but I had found this person who helped me start my career. So that's my piece of advice.
Cool. I know so many professionals are like, if we've gone to like other club meetings, people always tell us to like have an elevator pitch ready, and we've done like workshops for them. And I'm always like, I have no idea what to say to this.
I think Jenna, I don't know if Jenna's watching. Hi, Jenna, if you are. She helped us like put together our elevator pitch, and it's so helpful because like you will be in these moments where you're like, who am I? What do I want to do? Like you just need to have it ready. And it also, you know, it's okay if it's rough. You don't have to like totally stick to it, but you know, say it with confidence.
Yeah, I'm always afraid I'm gonna like word vomit at someone, but like right there. Mian, what is the most valuable thing that you did in college?
I think a lot of you guys are people in the room looking to go into media or journalism, stuff like that?
Yeah, our whole club is we're an online magazine. We're a chapter. Maybe I should have said this. We're a chapter of the National Online Magazine, Her Campus. So
it's about that. I wasn't sure.
Pretty much Refinery 29, Cosmo style writing, editing. We do YouTube videos. So it's just like a media conglomerate, just like what you guys are doing, but much smaller.
No, but that's the reason I said that is because I think something that I'm really glad that I did was like when I was in college, I was interning, and like, you know, I wasn't really able to freelance for bigger outlets. I basically like scoured Ed 2010. People still use that, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote for these like teeny tiny like blogs. I was paid like 5 cents a word. And on, and now they're defunct. I don't even think the clips are out there, thank God, because they were so bad. But it was those clips that helped me land like my first internship at W and like my Friday 29 internship, because I was just like constantly writing because I wanted to like prove, I wanted to build my portfolio basically. And I think that I get a lot of questions sometimes from people who are want to get into this field and they want to break into freelancing. I think that's awesome. And I think that having clips and having like stuff to show for your work is extremely important. But I think that don't underestimate writing for like what you might consider like a smaller publication, your local paper. I mean, some of the best investigative reporting done in the country is by local papers. So I think that you don't have to write only for like the biggest, glossiest magazine. Like your work will shine, your writing examples will shine. And then maybe you can do that in the future. And I think that was something that I'm really glad that I did, because if I didn't have those clips, I honestly also blogs. Like I also like wrote for my blog. Before I had those clips, I used my blog clips as like an example of my writing before I was able to even get the 5 cent a word like pieces. And that just like just be working, even if it's not what you want it to be yet, you know? I think that was I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, it's always baby steps, I think, even like as a student. Like I feel like so many people try to like dive in. Like so many of my friends have been accepting jobs and like so happy for them, but then everyone else that isn't right now, it's just kind of like you're not graduated yet kind of thing. Like you have the time to like build yourself up and make things work. But thank you guys so much. We're going to be going in with some audience questions now. Paige is going to bring them up on the screen and then we will ask them. So Paige, what is the first question?
Trust your judgment. You pick, girl. It's all you. What is something you hope to be changed or evolved in your field? I don't know. That's a question.
I can take this one. Certainly would love to see more diversity across all teams in media, like editorial, tech, art, like truly everything. I think the more perspectives you have in a room, really just like the better everything can be. We all know this. I don't really even need to say this, but I was really shocked when I started my career at how often I was the only person of color and or woman in the room. So the more of us, I'm like holding the door wide open as much as I can for people to come in. So I'm like, you know, I think the more diverse we can get, the better. Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I would like to see less sensational reporting. I think that like when I was at we've all experienced this. We all kind of in this world of like there was a lot of hot taking, a lot of news roundups and stuff like that. That I think, you know, there's this. I don't know what the solution is to this, but like editorial, it can, and in video too. Like it can be sometimes hard to balance like the numbers side and the kind of passion stories and storytelling side. And I would like to see that kind of evolve, although I don't know what the answer to that is. Whether that's like a subscription model where like there's less advertisers, stuff like that being tied to media, but that would be. I think that I would love to see that.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, how are you? I apologize for coming on so late. That's what happens in production. You have some fires you need to put out. So I really appreciate your patience.
So we were just saying that to our audience that we would love to set up a separate event for you to come back on and talk to us. You're welcome to stay though and answer the last final questions. We would love to get your input.
No, I really appreciate it. I would love to do it another time if you don't mind. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, completely. So we will see you super soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. So you guys should tune in for that too, because we're gonna do another round. Okay, and then let's get another audience question up, Paige.
How did you navigate and figure out which beat and medium, videographer, writer, editor, you wanted to pursue in your career? And do your goals ever change based on new experiences?
Yeah, I can take this. So I went to school at NYU for journalism. It was pretty it was pretty magazine focused what I did in the classes I chose. But I did take one multimedia reporting class, and it was I'm so glad I did it because I learned Adobe. I learned how to edit on Adobe Premiere with it. I learned how to like operate a camera, kind of. Not very good at it. But it was nice to take that class. I actually just did it like for the credit. I did not think that I wanted to go into this. I wanted to go into magazine writing. But taking it actually did open my eyes to that, and I really enjoyed taking that class. And so when I was at Refinery, like I said before, like I got introduced to video very slowly at Refinery, where I got to pitch for them, then I got to write a little bit for them, then I got to help on set and stuff like that. So I did kind of gradually learn that. I had a lot of imposter syndrome those few years when I was at Refinery because I didn't have formal video production skills. So I did take a production workshop where I learned how to set up a lighting setup and stuff like that. That helped a little bit. But I had a lot of fear around not feeling like I knew the words and stuff like that. But I learned while I was on that job. And I'm really grateful for that. And that's kind of how that's how I kind of acquired those skills. And that's how I figured out that I wanted to go into this because like I said before, like the skills are pretty transferable. Like there's a lot of technical details that you can 100% learn from YouTube videos and stuff like that. But the core skills of the reporting and the storytelling, I think are pretty similar.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think like competency is like the through line here is like if you just kind of know like you're good at what you do, you know how to ask good questions and you know how to like get information and kind of regurgitate it in a really nice digestible way, like you're good. And that skill can transfer anywhere always. In terms of, I guess similarly to Mian, I also studied journalism. I knew I loved storytelling, but I didn't know what my medium really was. I thought I was going to be a writer, but I always writing wasn't my favorite. So I took a class in college. It was like a visual storytelling class, and a perk to going to school in New York is your professors work at really cool places. So I had a professor that worked at Vox, and she did a lot of documentary storytelling type videos. And I was just so inspired by her, and we ended up doing like a final project, and I fell in love with what I did. So I realized like, oh, I am a visual storyteller. Like that is who I am, and that's what I want to do. And I would like to focus on stuff that's like a bit more documentary based. I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question? It went away. Okay. It's back. Thank you.
Your goals ever change based on new experiences?
Yes, for sure. My career, I started out as a social video producer, which basically means like my videos were shorter form and they were bite sized, and they were kind of it was like reporting, but for Instagram or for Twitter or for Facebook. So it had to be easily shareable, watchable, which is incredibly difficult to do if you're a storyteller, to make, portray a message or a story in like 60 seconds or like 15. So I realized very quickly, okay, I know how to do this. It's fun. It's shareable. Like these things are very successful. However, I really care about the stories behind what I'm trying to tell. And I would like to tell them in a more long form way. So I did sort of pivot my career to longer form video.
Paige, do you want to give us one last question before we do our final question? What are you both looking forward to, and do you currently have goals you're working towards? That's a good one. It's a tough one, but it's a good one.
Mian, do you want to go?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to do more multi-platform storytelling. So I really want to develop a podcast. I would love to develop a podcast for Teen Rose, actually. I would love to, like I said, like kind of blend, because like I said before, the video teams are kind of siloed at a lot of media companies. Like I think that's something that people want to change. And so I'm lucky that I've gotten to work on both sides of the house. So like I'm really excited about trying to kind of bridge that gap between the editorial teams and the video teams, like we're like to help kind of create visual versions of their stories or like work together in a more cohesive way. So I'm really excited about that. And that is definitely like the biggest goal, particularly in my job right now, is like creating that liaison and that like kind of more cohesive through line between the brand, the magazines and us, and just doing more storytelling. I'm really excited about it. I want to do like
how you're like
this too.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I was just saying, I love how you're like speaking that into existence. Like you want to create for Teen Vogue, like manifest.
It'll happen.
I'm really excited for, I'm sure along with most people, the world to open up again, whatever that means.
Yeah.
The reason I love my job is because I get to be in person and I get to share space with people and ask them questions and like be with crew. And like, I love setting up and like, I just love all the nitty gritty of being in production, being in journalism. And I'm really missing that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that and traveling. I work for New York Times Cooking. So our content is about food, and a part of the pandemic made it so that we could, show and talk to people around the world, but there's really only so much you can do with food, like remotely. So I'm very, very excited to get back to that. I would also love to do some on-camera stuff. I'm a chef myself, so I'm manifesting that as well.
Amazing.
And then in terms of goals, I mean, I think, something I learned at a previous job when I was working with Mian is just more high-level creative thinking about how to execute videos and how to make a video that's really strong and is compelling and interesting and visually beautiful. I want to be, I know this is sort of contradictory to what I just said, but I would like to also be on the like development side of things, sort of like hammering out like how to make those things look that way from a creative standpoint. So I guess sort of like blending the two of what I do now, but just sort of like heightening it. Would love to run a team someday. That would be fantastic. But that's like way down the road.
You would be so good at that.
Yeah, I can tell. You have that good leadership vibe.
You guys, I'm a Capricorn. I'm blushing. That's like,
oh my God, me too.
Queen.
Okay, so now this could not be the dream job panel without asking our like big dream job panel question. So you guys were chosen as panelists because you have like sexy, cool jobs, what some of us might consider our dream jobs. Do you consider your current job your dream job? And if not, what is your dream job?
What a question.
What a question. That's the question we have to ask every time. The dream job panel.
Has anyone ever said no?
Yeah, people said no.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, my answer is not no. My answer is yes. My answer is I think a dream job could look like many things for me, and I hope to, and I have at this point already had a few of my dream jobs. Like I'm so lucky, so blessed on that front. But yeah, I think, it was hard to get to this point, and I think I did have to carve a space out for myself a little bit, but I would say that I do what I love. I really enjoy the people that I work with. I respect them a lot. I feel like there's growth for me, and yeah, I do have my dream job. I often find myself pinching myself. So it is possible, is what this is all to say. Like, when you're in undergrad, or at least when I was in undergrad, I was like, is this all worth it? Am I even going to have this dream job? What is my dream job? I don't know. And I didn't know for a long time until I was in it. And I was like, wow, I love what I do. Like, I get excited to sit at my desk in the morning.
That's so inspiring. That makes you feel really happy. It's possible.
It be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that every job I've had has been a version of my dream job, but I wouldn't say that I mean, in a way it's changing constantly, right? And I think that my dream job, although I love my job now, would be to do exactly, which I'm working on, do exactly what I said before, which is like melding those two sides of what I kind of have a background in a little bit more cohesively. And I think that's attainable. So yes, but also I have like, I've got some goals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like,
always working towards something.
yeah. There was a point in my life where whenever somebody would ask me what my dream job was, I said that I wanted to be Anna Winter. So we'll grow.
Yeah, we all have like that real dream job that like we're not comfortable saying publicly because like it's a crazy thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so important. Like, it's good to have that, like, or even that job that you're like, this is not even in my field. I didn't even study this, but I would love to do it. And like, I think this is also like a PSA or like a shout out to like passions. Like, if you're like, I love storytelling and I love it in different mediums. I have my own podcast. Like, it's just something I do with my friend. Like, you can still, your work does not have to be who you are all the time. Like, you can still have other passion projects, and you can still, I mean, you can even still write if you want to be, you know, a journalist, and write about other things or write fiction. Just don't, you know, you don't have to like pigeonhole, is that the word? Yeah.
Yeah, pigeonhole.
Yeah.
Cool. Any last words before we cut us off? We could talk all night.
Yeah.
I'll get the cats.
Get the cat.
Get the
Everyone
cats.
get the cat.
Oh, he's right here. There's two, but the other one I don't know. He's so big now, isn't he?
He's so
tiny.
So little.
What is his name?
His name is Milo. We named him after a character in Legend of Korra.
Love that.
Hi, Milo. Everyone's happy with the cat.
He's crazy. He has a very mild form of cerebral hyperplasia, which is also called wobbly kitten syndrome. So he kind of like his head shakes a little bit. It's really cute. Crazy. And he like always attacks our older cat Boots, who's probably hiding now. But I'm a big cat fan. You should
So cute. Gabriella, if you have any pets, I think now's the time.
I do.
Snacks.
I do, but he's quite hard to get. I have a snake.
An albino snake.
He's
Oh,
in
wow.
a cage. He's like
Okay.
really big.
I kind of
I think we can just imagine that one, maybe.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
beautiful and he's great, but he's not as cute as your cat.
I mean, but he has a personality, which is crazy.
He does.
I love
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much.
you.
We're gonna take you off now and do some thank yous if that's okay with you guys.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us on. This was amazing. Thanks everyone who tuned in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye.
Whoop. Ah.
Okay. So to close tonight, we want to thank our panelists, the Lawrence Herbert School of Communications, Her Campus Nationals, the Hofstra Center for Career Design and Development, all of the Her Campus Hofstra e-board, especially our seniors, our entire chapter. We love you guys. Thank you so much for making this possible.
And we just want to bring on our eBoard seniors to say thank you guys for all that you do, and especially to Paige here for running the show behind the scenes. You guys did a great job. Olivia, if you can see this, you better hop in. I know it's just our chapter watching now, so you better come in. It's going to turn into a meeting real quick.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Don't graduate.
And congratulations to everyone, and thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate and love you all. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
That was fun.